We have been talking about this since before the season even ended. All of this chatter about a potential Maxx Crosby to the Bears deal. You even had Caleb Williams appear on Maxx Crosby podcast recently, and today the smoke turned into an absolute fire because a couple of the NFL insiders have said that they do believe that there is a stronger possibility that Maxx Crosby could be traded, and the Chicago Bears are one of the teams that are fishing around checking out his availability. But I'm going to need y'all to pump the brakes a little bit, and I need to ask y'all one very important question. Does it make sense? Welcome back to Bears Yard. This your boy Vipe, and when we talk about the Bears potentially trading for Maxx Crosby, yes, it will be an absolute big-time move. Yes, it would help the Bears with one of their biggest needs being an edge rusher, somebody that can actually put pressure on the opposing quarterback. We know that Maxx Crosby is an absolute game record. We saw it firsthand when he intercepted Caleb Williams in their meeting last season in Oakland. We know that Maxx Crosby is an absolute baller. But as I alluded to in my introduction, we need to understand and ask ourselves, does a Bears acquisition of Maxx Crosby make sense? You're like, Vipe, what do you mean does it make sense? You just alluded why it makes sense. But you got to look at the numbers, fam. The numbers. Firstly, last offseason, Maxx Crosby signed a 3-year extension, 3 years, $107 million extension with the Raiders, right? So that means he is making some $36 million a year. Why am I bringing up Maxx Crosby's contract? Why? Well, I just highlighted to you that he's making $36 million a year, which means if the Bears acquired him, he's already the highest paid player on the Bears. But if you don't know, the Chicago Bears are currently over the salary cap, which means they need to get under the salary cap before they can even think about acquiring a Maxx Crosby. Now, how can the Bears get under the salary cap? Obviously, the biggest talking point to that effect has been DJ Moore and trying to trade DJ Moore, because DJ Moore is currently making $28 million a year for the Bears, and he is not giving you $28 million a year production. So one of the easiest ways for the Bears to get under the cap is finding a way to trade DJ Moore. How realistic is that? I don't know. But if the Bears do go out and acquire a Maxx Crosby, I don't know if you can even do that deal without finding a way to include DJ Moore. How else can the Bears get under the cap? Tremaine Edmonds, we know that the Bears are going to cut him. I made a video about this last week. When the Bears cut Tremaine Edmonds, unless they trade for him first, there have been some talk about potential trade partner for Tremaine Edmonds. But if the Bears cannot find a trade partner for Tremaine Edmonds, they are going to cut him, which will save them $15 million in cap space. So if you could trade DJ Moore, cut Tremaine Edmonds, you got some cap space freed up. But if you're bringing back in a Maxx Crosby, that puts you even more over the cap than what you already are. So before y'all get too excited about Maxx Crosby donning a Chicago Bears uniform, again, does it make sense? Can the Bears actually do it financially? Now, a lot of y'all have told me on Twitter about the cap doesn't exist, contract can be restructured, blah, blah, blah. And yes, that is absolutely something that can happen. But do you know what happens when a contract gets restructured, right? What happens is that, yes, your cap hit for the current year gets lowered, but your cap hit for the years in the future goes up. Because when you restructure a contract, you're making your cap hit for the current year lower, but that means you're deferring for the years down the road where the cap hit is going to go up. So does restructuring make sense if it's going to put you in a position that's going to make you cap strapped in the future? I'm not sure, especially when you consider that in about 2 or 3 years here, you got to pay Caleb Williams, and he is going to be the highest paid quarterback in NFL history if he's going the way that he's going. So again, I ask you, does this whole Maxx Crosby acquisition make sense? Not to mention the fact that if you're going to acquire a Maxx Crosby, you have to give up draft capital. You can say goodbye to this year's first-round pick. It's gone. But there have been chatter that the Raiders want 2 first-round picks for Maxx Crosby, which I say, hell no. I'm sorry, but Maxx Crosby cannot fetch a similar type of deal that the Cowboys got for Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons is a better player, and he's a younger player. The Raiders should not be getting 2 first-rounders for Maxx Crosby. Now, if you tell me a first and maybe a third or something like that, Maybe. But if we're throwing a player into the mix, then that changes the equation. If we're giving up a first and DJ Moore, how much more do we need to give up if we're giving you a first round pick and DJ Moore, right? I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know. Again, ultimately, if you're going to do this deal for Maxx Crosby, if you're the Chicago Bears, it has to make sense. Not only to better the team roster-wise, but it has to make financial sense for the Bears now and into the future. Because, again, that Caleb Williams extension is coming quick, fast, and in a hurry. Actually, I think that after next season, Caleb Williams is eligible for his extension. And I just told y'all, when that time comes, he is going to reset the quarterback market. So, yes, Maxx Crosby will be a nice short-term answer for the Bears, but doesn't make sense for the Bears of the future because obviously you want your window to be open for as long as possible. But when you do something like this, like acquire a Maxx Crosby, you're actually shortening your window because it handicaps you financially in the future. Also, Maxx Crosby is about to be 29 years old, so he's still relatively young, but he is coming off of 8 surgeries, you all. Not to mention the fact that he played 12 games in 2024, played 15 games in 2025 here, but he still was injured last year. He missed a couple of games. And if you look at his production in comparison to Montez Sweat, it's pretty similar. And what we cannot do is pay $35 million to a guy that's going to give you Montez Sweat type production. I'm sorry. I'm not having it. I'm not about that life. Maybe you're about that life, but I am not about that life, okay? We already made this mistake with Montez Sweat. Now, Maxx Crosby is a much better player than Montez Sweat. He is a much more impactful player than Montez Sweat, but the statistics are what they are. And the facts don't care about your feelings. The facts say that statistically, they are very similar players. So why would I pay a very similar player to Montez Sweat $35 million a year? It just doesn't make sense. And I like Maxx Crosby. He's a hell of a player. I like Maxx Crosby. But he's getting older. He's not giving you much more production than Montez Sweat. He has an injury history. He costs a lot of money. And again, the Bears are in their Super Bowl window now, but we want to keep the window open for as long as humanly possible. Does acquiring a Maxx Crosby now help the Bears win the Super Bowl next year? I would say yes, assuming he stays healthy for the rest of the year and to the year and whatnot. But after next year, and beyond, again, especially when you get to that Caleb Williams extension, what does the Bears team look like at that point? Oh, not to mention, did I mention that you're already paying Montez Sweat $25 million a year? Jalen Johnson's making $20 million a year. You pay Grady Jarrett some $15 million a year. You're already spending a boatload of money on the defense anyway. So you're going to spend more money. You're going to give up draft capital, and you're getting older on that side of the ball anyway. You're not getting younger. And what the Bears need is more youth and speed on defense. Again, Maxx Crosby will be a hell of an addition, but I just question if he's what the Bears need right now. I'm not going to be mad if the Bears acquire Maxx Crosby in a trading week. I'm not going to be mad. But I do want to know what they give up and what are going to be their options for the rest of the offseason and going into subsequent offseasons. Like, what will they be able to do roster-wise when you have a guy on the team that's making $35 million a year and you got a quarterback that you're going to have to pay sooner rather than later? But Bears fans, let me know, what do you think? Are you excited? Do you want the Bears to go out there and acquire Maxx Crosby? Or would you rather them sign a free agent like Trey Henderson, which won't cost any draft picks and probably will cost them less money to get Trey Henderson over Maxx Crosby? Drop a comment and subscribe to The Yard for all things Chicago Bears.